Ricky Nelson was a teen idol who literally grew up on camera alongside his parents Ozzie and Harriet in the classic 1950s sitcom, The Adventures of Ozzie and Harriet. In 1963, 23-year-old Ricky married 18-year-old Kristen Harmon in what the press dubbed the wedding of the year, attended by Hollywood royalty and 400 guests. The couple went on to have 4 children together: daughter Tracy, twin sons Matthew and Gunnar, and youngest son Sam. But while America watched the Nelsons' wholesome TV antics, real life at home was unraveling. By the late 1970s, Ricky and Kristen's marriage was crumbling amid accusations of infidelity and substance abuse. "My mom started drinking really heavily." Gunnar later recalled of those tumultuous days, adding that there were drunken battles that none of us will ever forget. The couple divorced in 1982, ending the facade of domestic bliss. The children, who had grown up in the glow of their famous grandparents and parents, suddenly found themselves caught in a storm of family conflict. Then came another devastating blow. On New Year's Eve 1985, 45-year-old Ricky Nelson was killed in a plane crash, along with his fiancée and several band members. Overnight, the Nelson kids lost their dad, and the already fragile family was thrust into further turmoil. Young Sam, only 11 at the time, became the center of a very public custody battle between his mother Kristen and his uncle actor Mark Harmon of NCIS fame. The private pain of the Nelson children was making headlines. Yet through all this chaos, each of Ricky's 5 children would struggle to find their own path. Some followed in their father's musical footsteps, others stepped away from the spotlight. Here's what happened to each of them. Number 4. Tracy Nelson, born in 1963, is Ricky's oldest child and only daughter. She was Hollywood royalty from birth. Her mom, Kristen, was an actress and painter, and her dad, Ricky, a pop star. So it's no surprise that Tracy caught the acting bug early. In fact, at just 4 years old, she made her film debut playing one of the children in the Lucille Ball Henry Fonda comedy, Yours, Mine, and Ours. By her teens, Tracy was landing roles on TV. In 1982, she scored a breakout part opposite a young Sarah Jessica Parker on the sitcom Square Pegs, portraying a snobby Valley Girl character that viewers loved. But even as Tracy's career was taking off, her family life was in crisis. She was 19 when her parents divorced, and 22 when her father died in that horrific plane crash. The stress took a toll on her. In 1987, just 1 month after marrying actor William "Billy" Moses, 23-year-old Tracy got alarming news. She had a grapefruitized tumor in her chest. It was Hodgkin's lymphoma, a form of cancer, and it had progressed to stage 2 before it was caught. Tracy later revealed an eerie detail. Shortly before her diagnosis, she had a dream in which her late father called her on the phone and said, "I know you miss me, but it's not time for you to die. You have to go see a doctor." That haunting dream prompted her to seek medical help, possibly saving her life. Tracy endured a grueling fight against cancer. She underwent a 7-hour surgery to remove parts of her liver and lymph nodes, followed by months of intense chemotherapy that caused her weight to drop to just 87 pounds. She later admitted she partly blamed the illness on the stress of losing her dad and the ugly battle between her mom and uncle over Sam's custody. Miraculously, within 6 months, the cancer went into remission. Even while battling the disease, Tracy refused to give up acting. She famously donned a nun's habit to star as Sister Stephanie Steve Oktowski in the crime-solving series Father Dowling Mysteries, filming episodes in between her treatments. After beating Hodgkin's lymphoma in the late 80s, Tracy's challenges weren't over. She went on to survive 2 more bouts of cancer in later years: thyroid cancer in 2005 and breast cancer in 2010, which she overcame after a bilateral mastectomy. Through it all, Tracy emerged as a true survivor. She became an advocate for cancer research, even receiving awards for her work, raising awareness, and she found happiness in motherhood. Tracy and Billy Moses had a daughter, Remington, in 1992. Though the couple divorced in 1997, Tracy continued her family life later, welcoming a son named Elijah in 2001 with her partner at the time, director Chris Clark. Today, Tracy Nelson is around 60 years old and remains a positive, resilient figure. She's acted consistently over the decades with guest roles on everything from Melrose Place to Seinfeld, and even took to the Broadway stage as Rizzo in Grease. More importantly, she's embraced her role as a survivor and the keeper of her family's legacy. Number 3. Matthew and Gunnar Nelson. Next up are Matthew and Gunnar Nelson, Ricky's identical twin sons born in 1967. If you were around in the early 1990s, you probably remember these blonde-haired twin heartthrobs taking the music world by storm. But their journey to rock stardom and life afterwards wasn't as easy as it looked. As kids, Matthew and Gunnar were surrounded by music. They grew up literally in the Nelson family nursery, while their dad jammed with friends. They joked that a homeless guy hanging around turned out to be Bob Dylan. Music became the twins' refuge when their parents' marriage was imploding. By age 11, they were writing songs and recording demos, using music to escape the stress of their mom and dad's bitter divorce. In 1985, when the boys were 18, things at home with their mother, Kristen, had gotten so tense that they decided to move in with their dad, Ricky, for a fresh start. Tragically, that fresh start was cut short. Just a few months later, Ricky Nelson died in the New Year's Eve plane crash. Matthew and Gunnar were devastated. They had only just reconciled with their father, only to lose him in an instant. The twins channeled their grief into their music. A few years later, they formed a rock band simply named Nelson. Their debut album, After the Rain, was pointedly titled A Nod to Weathering the Storms of their family history. And then in 1990, Matthew and Gunnar made music history. Their single Can't Live Without Your Love and Affection shot to #1 on the Billboard charts, making them the first twin brothers ever to land a #1 hit song. Suddenly, the Nelson boys were everywhere. On MTV, on magazine covers, with crowds of screaming fans greeting them at airports, just like they had their famous dad. With their flowing golden hair and model-worthy looks, they became pop metal pinups. We were two long-haired white guys who looked like hot Swedish chicks. Matthew later joked about their glam appearance on MTV. The After the Rain album went double platinum, and for a moment Matthew and Gunnar were on top of the world. But the whirlwind of fame didn't last as long as they hoped. In the early 90s, musical tastes shifted practically overnight. MTV suddenly ditched hair bands in favor of the gritty grunge rock of Nirvana and Pearl Jam. One day, the Nelson twins were being compared to Taylor Swift-level fame. And the next, as Matthew put it overnight, we became Paris. Audiences moved on, and the twins' mainstream popularity waned by the mid-90s. To make matters worse, people assumed they had it easy because of their family name. Rumors swirled that they were millionaire rock star kids who didn't have to work for success. The reality was the opposite. As Gunnar and Matthew tell it, by the time their first record finally got released, they had just 16 to their name, were living out of their car and scraping by however they could. They had no safety net from their dad's fortune. Ricky's estate was tangled up and modest by then, so the twins truly earned their success from the ground up. Though their days of topping charts were brief, Matthew and Gunnar never stopped making music. They continued recording albums through the 1990s and 2000s and touring wherever people wanted to hear them, from clubs to cruise ships. Through all the ups and downs, the brothers remained extremely close. They've said that having each other is what kept them going when times got tough. Both eventually found personal happiness as well. Matthew married and started a family, even naming his son Ozzie after Grandpa Ozzie Nelson. And Gunnar settled down too in recent years. Their grandma, Harriet Nelson, lived to see their early success before her passing in 1994, proudly calling the twins her pride and joy. Today, in their mid-50s, Matthew and Gunnar Nelson are still rocking. But now, they're also preserving their father's legacy. The twins developed a popular touring show called Ricky Nelson. Remembered a multimedia concert where they perform Ricky's hit songs, share stories, and play home movies of their dad. It's a way for them to connect with fans of their father and introduce his music to new generations. Number 2. Sam Nelson. Born in 1974, is the youngest of Ricky and Kristen's 4 children. Sam's early life was perhaps the most tumultuous of all the Nelson kids. He was just a kindergartner when his parents' nasty split erupted. As a child, Sam was caught in the middle of their bitter custody disputes. The courtroom accusations flew. Claims of excessive spending, bad parenting, drug problems, and 6-year-old Sam saw his family torn apart. At one point, things got so bad that Sam was sent to live with his maternal grandparents, football legend Tom Harmon and actress Elise Knox, for his own protection. Imagine being 6 years old and effectively taken away from both mom and dad. That was Sam's reality. After Ricky's sudden death in late 1985, young Sam became the focus of a new tug-of-war. this time between his mother Chris, who was struggling with addiction, and his uncle Mark Harmon, who genuinely feared for Sam's well-being. In 1987, Mark Harmon and his wife actress Pam Dober went to court to win custody of Sam, alleging that Chris was an unfit mother. The scandal made headlines pitting brother against sister in the Harmon family. Chris entered rehab for her substance abuse issues and fought to keep her son. Eventually, the court returned custody to Chris, but only on the condition that Mark and Pam receive visitation rights and that all parties attend family therapy. The ugly feud left deep scars. Chris later said her family never forgave her for not being perfect, and that the custody battle tore the Harmon family apart. It's not hard to see how traumatic all this was for Sam. Thankfully, Sam Nelson survived his chaotic childhood and grew into a creative, determined adult. Perhaps inspired by his father and big brothers, Sam pursued music, but on his own terms. In the 2000s, he became the lead singer of an alternative rock band with an unusual name. H is Orange. The name actually holds personal meaning for Sam. He has a form of synesthesia from early childhood. His first memory is seeing letters and words and colors, and for him the letter H is orange in his mind. Sam chose H is Orange as a symbol of looking at things from a fresh perspective. The Los Angeles-based band made some waves on the indie scene. Known for powerful live shows and a modern rock sound, they released a well-received album in 2004 titled Don't Trust the Easy that even snagged an Album of the Year nomination from a music magazine. A follow-up album, Thrill of Escape, came in 2009, and one of its singles was featured as a downloadable track for Guitar Hero. While H is Orange didn't achieve the commercial mega success of Nelson, the Twins band Sam once said he didn't mind. He was happy making music out of the limelight. As the years went on, Sam transitioned into more behind-the-scenes roles in entertainment. By his late 30s, he was reportedly working as a music executive, helping other artists navigate the industry. But perhaps Sam's most passionate project has been preserving the Nelson family's historic legacy. In recent years, he spearheaded an effort to digitally restore the adventures of Ozzie and Harriet, the very TV show that launched his family to fame back in the 50s. Sam led a campaign including a successful Kickstarter fundraiser to remaster and re-release the entire Ozzie and Harriet series in high quality so that new generations could enjoy America's longest-run sitcom. In 2022, his work came to fruition, with the first seasons being released on DVD lovingly restored by Ozzie and Harriet's own grandson. It's clear that despite all the pain he endured as a kid, Sam still cares deeply about honoring the positive aspects of his family story. Now in his 50s, Sam Nelson tends to keep a low public profile. Number 1. Eric Jude Crew. The story of Ricky Nelson's children wouldn't be complete without Eric Jude Crew, Ricky's fifth child. Though fifth might come as news to some because Eric's existence was kept very private. Eric was born in February 1981 to a woman named George Ann Crew, whom Ricky Nelson had a brief relationship with during a period of separation from Kristen. The circumstances were controversial at the time. Ricky initially did not publicly acknowledge the child as his. It wasn't until 1985, after a court-ordered blood test, that paternity was confirmed and Ricky agreed to pay child support for little Eric. By then, Ricky and Kristen had divorced, and Ricky's new relationship was in the headlines, so the revelation of an out-of-wedlock son added to the family drama. Young Eric Jude never had the chance to know his father. He was only 4 years old when Ricky died in the plane crash. Unlike his half-siblings, Eric did not grow up in the spotlight or within the Nelson family's public life. In fact, he was raised entirely by his mother, far away from Hollywood. Over the years, the Nelsons have kept details about Eric very minimal, respecting his privacy.